Thank you very much for the introduction. I think it's beautiful to be in this session with all the people who are attending this event. I'm honored to be here. And I know that you've been hearing a lot about AI and data science and technology throughout this show. So I decided that instead I would give you more of a personal story about what is it like to be a data scientist, what is it like to be a woman in the sciences and specifically in the field of artificial intelligence. So I'm gonna share my personal story with you, tell you how I got to where I am, and give you a few of the lessons, life lessons, as well as career lessons that I have learned throughout my career in the tech field. So please allow me to share my screen. All right. So for those of you who don't know me, I was born and raised on the Mediterranean in the beautiful city of Beirut. I have lived most of my life there. I grew up in a traditional family with two other siblings. My dad is an engineer, my mom is a mathematician, so you can say science was in my DNA. But basically, I lived a normal childhood. I did not know when I was young that I'm going to be here. But I had a dream. And every time somebody asked me what I wanted to do when I grew up, every time I talked about it, the only response that I used to get was that this is a dream for boys. This is a dream for guys. This is not a dream for a young girl. And I'm going to tell you later on what my dream was and how I ended up being where I am today. But before I do that, just a brief background about what I did. Graduated high school at around 16, and then I joined engineering school. I was basically a girl in a boys' playground. I graduated from engineering school, specifically electrical engineering. There were only 20 students, only 2 ladies in the class, and proudly, I graduated first of my class. It was at that moment when I started to realize that it's not going to be easy to be a woman in this field, not to be easy to be able to break the barriers, to be able to change the consumption of what it is like to be a woman, of what does it mean to be a career woman in an environment such as the environment that I grew up with. So I had a bit of a eureka moment during my graduation project, and I was working on a robot that was supposed to detect mines in landfills. And my biggest question was, how do I get my robot to find its way? My only worry was, how do I make sure that my robot is able to find its path on its own? And this was basically the moment when I decided that I wanted to go into artificial intelligence. So this was the breaking moment for me. I started looking into what does it mean to have artificial intelligence. I started looking into what are the tools and technologies that we have at our disposal to make this happen. And that was back in 2010. After I started my field, I decided to go all the way in. I did my master's of engineering in machine learning. I did also my PhD in machine learning. And then I became later on a researcher and a professor throughout my academic career until recently I decided to enter the corporate world, and I joined Crayon, which is a company a worldwide company that specializes into IT and cloud infrastructure. So basically, few of the lessons that I have learned throughout my long career in data and in artificial intelligence. So first and foremost, data is the new currency. Data defines the future. At every single second, petabytes of data are being generated worldwide across different platforms, across different infrastructures. So really, the new currency of tomorrow is all about data. So with that in mind, these are some statistics, that show you effectively the staggering amounts of data that are being generated on a daily basis. An average internet user generates about 1.5 gigabyte of data every single day. A connected airplane generates 5 terabyte of data, much less a cloud video provider, 750 petabyte of data. So imagine you are in such an environment where such a huge amount of data is being put at your disposal. Because as we all know, AI is a data hungry technology. So the question is, how can I, from all of these amounts of data that are being generated, how can I, through my business insights, my operational insights, how can I effectively make actionable decisions just by looking at data? How do I transform myself into a data-driven operation model? So effectively, what AI has done in its journey of evolution, we had started, when we first started in the field of AI, we had started by asking questions such as, what happened? Basically, descriptive analytics, looking at a certain use case and saying, okay, what happened? What went wrong, for example? Now, taking this further, we started asking questions about why. So we're now looking into insights, into diagnostics. If I take this one level further, then I'm looking at predictive analytics where I'm gonna foresee what will happen and when that will happen and why would that happen. Now, beyond that, I would need to know how should I proceed. So really the technology today, where we are today now, with all the tools at our disposal, we are somewhere around the prescriptive analytics where we can do actionable insights, actionable decisions based on data. Really, the next level that we are aiming to do and where technology is going to go in another maybe 5 to 10 years would be around the cognitive analytics, self-learning, being able to transfer learning from one domain into another, being able to incorporate knowledge that I have learned from one domain into another. And really, this is all still below the human level of intelligence. So the question that I always get asked by people as a data scientist, as somebody who is into AI, is AI gonna kill my job? Is AI gonna replace us as humans? Are we gonna get to a point where robots are gonna take over and we as a human race are gonna become less and less relevant? And my personal philosophy is that even though technology and AI and data has come so far and has become so much elaborate, so much complicated, we still do not reach the level of human intelligence. We still cannot replicate what we human can produce. So what I would say is that jobs are not going to disappear because of AI. Jobs are going to be transformed because of AI. You will no longer need to do your simple accounting, which can be done in seconds on your computer, but you will need to be able to make decisions based on the data that is being now put at your disposal. Your systems are going to compute all of these decisions. You need to be able to take actions based on this. So really, jobs are not going to disappear, but more importantly, they are going to evolve. They're going to be transformed. They're going to be changed into something that will enable us as humans to go forward in our knowledge, to spend more time developing our knowledge, to spend more time transforming our skills. And basically the biggest skill that we can have as humans now in the era of this technology is basically the ability to learn, to unlearn, to relearn, to transform. And that's the key that's going to separate today's generation from previous generations. Those of us who were born into technology, we can use it quite easily. We don't have a problem figuring our way out. We don't resist it. Those who came before us are a little bit more resistant. So really, what we take out of all of this is that we need to be able to live with technology, benefit from it, and add our own intelligence to it. So is AI going to surpass humans? In reality, I really don't think that anytime soon AI is going to replace us as humans. So those of you who are worried about robots taking us over, my personal philosophy is that this is not going to happen, where AI is still as dumb as a cockroach, and it has a long way to go. So from all of that, I would say the biggest and most important skills that anybody can have today into the future, into further years to come forward, are things like problem solving, or things like critical thinking, things like exponential thinking. There are things that technology cannot do. These are things that will distinguish us as humans. These are things that will take us as humans and as humanity to the next level. So your books and your degrees and your analytical and verbal skills that you learn are very important. But what is more important is to allow our kids, is to allow the new generation to develop creativity, to develop imagination, to develop these problem solving skills. And these are what are going to allow us to cope with the rise of technology and to take technology to the next level. So basically what we need to be focusing on are all of these, not just your analytical skills. Things like music is very important because it opens us to creativity. Things like interpersonal skills, those who are in the medical field. Yes, a robot can make a diagnosis, a robot can make an X-ray image, but it will never replace the human touch and the human care that healthcare professionals can bring to us. So really, this is where we need to start looking. This is where we need to start really spreading our wings to complement technology. Do not fear technology. Technology is not there to push us out. It's there to make our life better. So as a data scientist, I thought this is just a funny anecdote that I would share with you. A lot of people ask me, what is it that you do as a data scientist? A lot of people have different conceptions. What is it like to be a data scientist? So a lot of it involves sitting in front of a computer, basically doing a lot of coding, a lot of development, handling complex technology systems. But basically, a lot of times I also feel personally, and a lot of us do personally feel, as if we're just doing a repetitive task. And a lot of times I ask myself, what is it that I need to do to really break into the next level? And that is a question for all of us. How is it that we're going to take our jobs as tech people into the next level? What is it that we can do to basically use our skills and put our knowledge and our skills into action? Because we still see a lot of separation between what we know, what we can do, and between what the trends in the market are. As a science, AI has evolved so much. We, as somebody who spent over 10 years in research and development, we've done a lot of advancement. We've put a lot of technology out there. We've put a lot of science out there. But a lot of times this sadly gets watered out into the corporate world. So what is it that we need to do to push this further and for basically companies to start adopting this technology? So that is a question that I will let everybody think about. But just to basically conclude a little bit my personal journey, in a nutshell, this is what I am. I'm an educator. I'm a data scientist. I'm also a neuroscientist. I've spent many years in my career studying the human brain. And I can really tell you that there's a lot about the human brain that we still do not understand, that we still have to understand and have to know. So don't fear. If you cannot understand how we as a human think and operate, you cannot make a machine outsmart us. And basically, going back to where I started this talk, when I talked about my dream was to become like this little lady that you're seeing here. Anybody here knows who this lady is? So for those of you who don't, this lady might have single-handedly changed the course of humanity. She helped write the code that took the rocket, the Apollo mission to the moon. And she was basically the star behind the curtains. She was the one who actually made it happen. And a lot of times, a lot of us women think like we play a similar role. A lot of times we are pushed into the background. A lot of times We are, you know, the one behind the curtains doing the actual work, while humanity advances, while things happen, and we never are given the credit. So for those of you who wonder what it is like to be a woman in sciences, a lot of times this is how it feels. Sometimes we do a lot of important stuff. Sometimes we are really putting the hard work into action, but we really sometimes get forgotten because we are simply women. So throughout my career, I had many, many wake-up call moments. And just to describe one of my most surprising moments throughout my career that has changed me as a person and changed me as a professor as well. When I was teaching in one of the universities in the south of Lebanon, I had a 17-year-old girl come into my office after an exam in tears. I honestly did not know how to deal with a situation like this. It was a big wake-up call moment because I did not know how important it is to be an educator and how important it is to be shaping the minds of humans, to be shaping the minds of the next generation. So after I tried to talk with her and to speak with her and really understand why she was in tears, she told me her personal story about being forced into marriage at 16, getting divorced at 17, not having a place to stay, not being able to cope with all of that. And that moment really changed me. That moment made me want to do a lot of things for our future generations, for women in particular, for the young girls who may not always have access to education, who may not always have the same chance as an equally qualified man. And this is where I decided to become the lead for the Women in Big Data chapter in Lebanon. I also joined an NGO organization helping girls get out of abusive relationships or get out of difficult situations. This is when I woke up every day trying to do one thing and one thing only that changes the course of somebody's life, even if it's a small thing, even if it's a small gesture. Just try and change even a small thing in somebody. So what I have learned about life so far, I have learned many, many lessons. I have learned that you can really achieve whatever you set your mind to. It doesn't matter how difficult it is. It doesn't matter how far-fetched it seems, but you can really achieve whatever you set your mind to. Don't let anything discourage you. Put a goal and go after it. And sometimes you're wandering into the unknown. You don't really know where you're going. There's many twists and regrets that come into your mind. But really, truly, when you achieve your true purpose, when you know that you have done what you wanted to do, you'll never regret anything. You'll never regret the hard times that you had to go through. You'll only grow more. Obviously, in a world where everybody's connected, in a world where we live in one big environment, we're competing with billions of people. So really, you have to stand up to be noticed, be different. Don't fall into the cookie cutter framework. Try to be different. Try to explore what your personality is. Try to really go after what you are good at. Don't let society and other factors decide where you can be and what you should be. Try to be different. Go after your talents. Do music, do arts, do history. Try to break out from the same traditional things that we all were shaped to become, because that's the only way you can stand out and you can be different. You know, a lot of times, the thing that really stops us from going forward is that we don't know how to start, and we don't really have the courage to start. So what I would say is that starting is half the way. It doesn't matter how you start. It doesn't matter what you do to start. All what you have to do is basically start, go forward. Whatever it is, you'll figure it out later. And if you do that, you're ahead of most people. A lot of times, opportunity might come knocking into your door, but that's not the case. You actually have to go and seek opportunities. You have to go outside, you have to find opportunities. Don't wait until things come to you. Go and seek what you want, go after what you want, because this is how you grow. This is how humanity grows. This is how we as a society grow. And most importantly, it's very important to have fun. It is important to break out of our comfort zones, family, kids, life, parents. These are very important things. Do not forget these. Be grateful for what you have. Always try to do good in the world, and try to be grateful for one thing every day. The most important thing is that when you wake up, be grateful for what you have, even if it's a simple thing. Start your day with gratitude, because this is what's going to allow you to really change the world. Finally, for everybody around here, just set a goal, fight for it. This is how you grow. This is how you can basically achieve what you want to achieve. So for me, I'm going to stop here. I wanted to basically just give you my story. I will open the floor to any questions, any comments from the audience. So please feel free to share your thoughts, your comments, your questions.